welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about how to get familiar with your chart. But before we begin, first, if you have Instagram, go and follow me there. Second, I'm selling these amazing Zodiac prints. They are on Etsy, the link is down in the description below. If you're interested, go check it out. And lastly, subscribe and like this video if you like what you're here. So, how to get familiar with your chart, your birth chart, your astrology chart, your natal chart, and why is it so important? In my opinion, knowing your birth chart, knowing your transits and what's going on in the stars really helps you understand what you're going through. It really helps you understand what's happening in your mind, what's happening outside of you, and why it's happening, like what you're supposed to learn, how is it going to further affect your life, and what kind of things you can do to maybe bring better results from the transits that are happening, or how to minimize the difficult transits, how to make it less harmful for you by accepting the lessons and just flowing through it rather than resisting it and experiencing even more tension in your life. By knowing all these transits, knowing all these planets, what they're supposed to be doing for you, you just kind of loosen up a little bit and the transits are happening more smoothly in your life. And on the flip side, when there's good transits, how to use those and even amplify the benefits that there are already there for you. So let's begin. So a birth chart or a natal chart is basically a map of the planets that were positioned in the sky the second you were born, and you need to have your birth date, of course, and you need to have your birth time exactly to the minute. It's of course best to have your birth time exactly to the minute, but sometimes it happens that we don't have it. Then try at least have it by around like 10 minutes on or off, so more than 10 minutes really impacts how your chart is laid out, and sometimes even 5 minutes makes a difference. But just try to have the exact time as possible. And then you also need your birth city. So you go to any of these websites and you put in all of your information, and then you get this beautiful chart. So what do I do next? How do I read it? What are all these lines? What are all these dots and planets, and what the hell am I looking at? So first of all, you need to learn the zodiac signs. First, learn all the 12 zodiac signs, what they are, the traits, the characteristics. I think it's best if you have some kind of journal that you write down the information that you learn, and then next to each of the zodiac sign, write down the ruling planets. So Aries ruling planet is Mars, Taurus ruling planet is Venus, Leo's ruling planet is the Sun. And by the way, the Moon and the Sun are considered as planets in astrology. It's just a celestial object in the sky that is also impactful in our lives. Basically, the planet is the same thing as the sign. The planet has pretty much the same qualities as the sign because that's the ruler of the zodiac sign. So the planet is the fruit itself, let's say, and the zodiac sign is the flavor of the fruit, so it's kind of the same thing, but it's not exactly the same thing, Then what you need to learn is the houses. There are 12 houses in total, and each of the house is also assigned to each of the zodiac sign. So the original house of Aries is the first one, Taurus the second one, and it goes all the way around like that. Learn what the houses are. So for example, the first house rules the self, it rules the appearances, beginnings. The second house is possessions, values, money, material things, and you keep going and learn what the houses mean and what they are. So now it's time to get into the aspects, and the aspects are the red and blue lines that you see all over your chart. Some people may see only one line and some people may see only 3 or 4 lines, and others may see a lot of lines. And To put it shortly and very plainly, the red lines are the negative aspects and the blue lines are the positive aspects, depending on which website you use. But it's not always exactly the case. The red lines sometimes can be useful, but basically the red line means there's tension, there's some kind of disagreement between the planets, and the planets represent your personality traits. Let's start from the square. The square aspect is a 90-degree separation from the planets. It's a 90-degree angle between the planets, and it is a tense aspect. It means that the planets don't really agree with each other. The planets kind of want to fight with each other. And if you have, let's say, the sun, which is your ego, your outer expression, and the moon, which is your inner self, your feelings, how you feel inside, your true emotions. If you have the sun and the moon squared, it means your inner and outer expression is not gonna match. Like, you are going to always feel conflicted about your feelings and how to express them. Then we have the opposition aspect. And in my opinion, it's not as tense as the square aspect, because opposition happens when the planets are exactly in opposite signs, and opposite signs actually are in the elements that complement each other. So air and fire are going to be opposite, but they complement each other. Water and earth are going to be opposite, but they complement each other. So the issue here is when the planets don't exactly meet each other. They don't really communicate to each other that well. Where the square aspect, they fight each other, but the opposition aspect, the planets don't necessarily communicate with each other. Let's say you have Mercury opposite Moon. Again, Moon is your emotions, your inner self, how you're feeling, how you react instinctually to things, and Mercury is your style of communication, it's your logic. And if it's opposite, then it's gonna be like, sometimes your emotions are gonna be awkwardly expressed, or sometimes you're gonna speak without necessarily acknowledging your emotions. So then let's move on to the positive aspects, to the easy aspects. And the major positive aspect is a trine. And a trine forms when there is 120-degree angle between the two planets. And it's a wonderful, wonderful aspect to have. It means there is ease between the two planets. The planets complement each other. The planets work with each other in harmony. The second one is a sextile. And a sextile forms when there is 60-degree angle between the planets, and it's quite similar to a trine. It's just a little bit weaker than a trine. So there's actually one more aspect that I forgot to mention, and it's a conjunction, and it's basically the two planets that are usually within 5 degrees from one another. It's most effective when it's conjunct exactly by 0 degrees apart, but it's still considered a conjunction even if it's 5 degrees apart. But more than that, it's not really a conjunction, and the planets don't really work with each other. And as you can imagine, the answer is pretty simple. The two planets combine their creative powers, combine their energies, and amplify one another. So now the real learning part begins. I'm gonna give you a list of resources where to learn. This is where you can read about everything that you see in your chart. You can as well watch YouTube videos from astrologers like Lada. You can also join, if you have Facebook, you can join Facebook groups called Anything Astrology. It's a very amazing group where you can ask a lot of questions and people usually answer those. But don't put your chart out there and ask for people to read it, because it takes a lot of time, and respect people's time. These are not free things that usually people do. It costs a lot of money, so don't expect to get your chart read for free. Usually the ones who will read it for free are the ones who are learning themselves. So that's that. Where to begin? Start from your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and start from reading about the planets in the signs. Let's say you have the sun in Libra in the 6th house. So Google sun in Libra, you read the description. Next, you Google sun in the 6th house, you read the description, and you do that for all the planets. If you have any conjunct planets, some conjunct Venus, read about that as well. And then you can start searching for the aspects. If you have Mars trine Sun, go and Google that, or watch the video on this and Google all the little lines that you have and find out what they mean and how it applies to your life. And this is the basics of astrology. The more complicated astrology is when you have to combine everything, because the aspects separated from one another don't make a whole lot of sense. You can find sometimes that not exactly everything resonates because probably there is another aspect in your chart that kind of cancels the one before that you read about, and so that's why you kind of need a professional astrologer to mush it all together and to read the chart from a human brain and not just pick out the separate things, you know. It's kind of, look at it like a puzzle. If you pick out the puzzle pieces, from one puzzle piece you can see something, but you have to put all the puzzle pieces to see the whole picture in the puzzle, you know. So that's how it is. Of course, there's useful to know the aspects one by one. That's how you get to know about astrology in general. But to know the whole chart, you need to put everything in one. Now for the important stuff, the transits. From my experience, and it happened time after time after time again, the only thing that manifests externally are the double transits, the double aspects. So what I'm talking is, the chart is static. The chart is a picture and it doesn't move anywhere. But the transits are the real-time planets moving around and making aspects to your chart planets. And that is when you see some changes happening in your life. So the double aspects, which I'm going to be talking about in a while, are in my experience that what manifests. But the other things that manifests are Saturn and Jupiter transits. What does change life circumstances, life events, big events in your life, when you're moving somewhere, when you gain a promotion, when you have a child or whatever. It's the double aspect, Saturn and Jupiter. So when Jupiter is moving along your chart and is crossing houses, making conjunctions with your natal planets, making squares or trines with your natal planets, that is when sometimes things change in your life, and again you have to kind of search for the meanings. So how to do that is you Google, let's say, Jupiter transit, the aspect that you're having, either conjunction, trine, square, opposition, or sextile. Natal Neptune or natal Sun. And then you have the answer basically. Then there's Saturn that you have to look at. And the Saturn, trust me, it always manifests. Saturn always brings about the lessons. And again, you do the same. Saturn transit, aspect, natal planet. Then it's the double aspects. If there are two planets involved in an aspect and two planets involved inversely. So let's say if transit Mars, the one in the sky in real time, which is moving, is making an aspect with your natal Sun, the one that is in your chart, the one that always is in the same position, and then the transit Sun, the one which is in the sky, the transit are in the sky moving, is making also an aspect to your natal Mars, the one that is in your chart not moving, then boom, it's a manifestation of the energies. Depending on what houses, what aspects, it's gonna manifest differently. So basically, it's inversely, the one in the sky is making an aspect with the natal planet and vice versa. If it happens this way, it's always a manifestation. I experienced this a lot of times. Other times when there's no double aspect, as I call it, nothing happens. So of course it might be differently, but this is just purely from my personal experience. So I think that is what you need to know for now, as getting to know your chart. I wish you happy learning, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you have one. Subscribe, like this video, check out the Etsy prints in the description below, and thank you for watching. I'm gonna see you next time.